Hello and welcome to the Sales Exchange podcast, B2B marketing talk for CEOs. When it comes to marketing, we can safely say that people haven't changed, but the technology certainly has. And if we don't adapt, we're going to run into some serious problems. So, if you're a CEO who's involved in marketing, join us as we talk about strategies and tactics needed to generate new business. And I'm your host and founder of Sales Exchange, Nigel Main. Well, welcome to our latest episode, our latest podcast, which is number 9. And I'm joined by Liz.
Good afternoon.
As you already know, my name's Nigel Main. And today we have to, I guess like so many other people, we have to talk about the lockdown and COVID-19 and what it means to us as business owners. There's a difference, I think. We've got people that are employed, and that's fine, and they have their own kind of set of issues and things that they have to deal with. But with business owners, I think that we have to be conscious or wary of the future and what the future holds for us. And it's, 5 weeks ago, we were just aware of something that was kicking off over in China. Now it's affected everybody globally. I think collectively, business owners have gone from how do we grow our business and develop our businesses and so on to, oh my goodness gracious me, how do we actually survive this? And after 4 weeks of lockdown, we've seen businesses go from furloughing staff, some almost immediately, but most have within this period, or many have within this period of time. And it didn't matter whether you were British Airways or a little software company. People have been furloughed everywhere. And I can't help thinking that the hand-to-mouth existence of businesses has meant or has shown their inability to weather a storm. And I think the speed at which this has happened is quite telling.
Pretty frightening, really, when you think we're trying to grow sustainable businesses that are marketing themselves on a regular basis, whether that's through email marketing or through telesales, that suddenly that whole way of marketing just has proven itself not to be as sustainable to see people through this difficult time. And we don't even know how long this time is going to last. I mean, we look at reports in the news and they're pushing now for primary schools to be open before half term so that parents can get back to work and the economy can start moving again. But I think it's shown, like you said, about this hand-to-mouth existence of businesses that there's got to be a change, and that change has got to be in being able to grow and build sustainable businesses that can weather storms like this. We don't want to be back in this situation again. I mean, we're not British Airways. We're not talking to those people that are in those service type industries. But those of us that are in businesses where effectively we can still keep trading. We need to put those mechanisms in place that allow us to continue to market our businesses, reach out to our suspects, our prospects and our customers in an effective way. And it seems to me that there are many businesses that have been able to do that or have got that system in place to do that.
No, I mean, ironic, strange, coincidental. About 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, whenever it was, I wrote an article, and it was about how whether businesses or organisations should hire a consultant or should hire a CMO. And within that, it grew arms and legs as I was writing it, but it talked about how and explored how and why businesses had failed in their marketing, but also the reason behind it harked back to the 1950s and 60s when businesses expected a salesman to go out and find the business, demonstrate whatever needed to be demonstrated, close the business, get the paperwork signed, bring the check back to the office and ring the bell. And that was, but they've maintained that model. And going through the decades, the business owners have said, well, what's wrong with that? And to an extent, you go, oh, can't really argue with that, really. So if you hire a load of salespeople, you want more business, employ more salespeople. But what came out of it was that we found out that over the past 5 or 6 years, CMOs had only held on to their jobs for about 18 months. And then they got fired. And they got another one in. So you got two activities going on. You got a marketing activity with marketing leaders being hired and fired. On the other hand, you've got the sales activities going on where they're expected to go out and find a business and bring it back. So what? And then everyone complains that sales and marketing don't talk to each other when they're not supposed to. And so if the managing director looks at the marketing departments, the marketing people blame the salespeople so that we can't sell. And you go to the salespeople and say, why aren't you doing enough business? Because the leads are rubbish, because marketing don't provide the right leads. And then you start to think, well, why has this been going on? How and why has this been allowed to continue? And you realise that the marketing people keep telling the directors, this is how it's always been done, so this is how it is. And so because the managing directors don't see the needle move, then they get rid of them and get another one. And so it continues. So we're 5 years into this, and the press have been saying the same thing year after year for 5 or 6 years. And here we are now in a lockdown. So your marketing pre-lockdown was no good. Was very poor. You weren't able to do what you wanted to do. And now your salespeople can't go out. Yet everybody has access to the internet. It's amazing that the internet hasn't gone down anywhere, or not around where we are. But the internet hasn't gone down. So here we are. We've got this enormous resource that enables us to, for us in particular, to record and distribute video and podcasts and content. So everybody else can do that too. But because the marketers historically have not gone down this content route, they've talked about content, but they've never really...
Well, don't you think that content, though, has become a bit of a euphemism for blogs, or rather blogs have become a euphemism for content, in that the fairly, you look on websites and predominantly say, yeah, we write content, and the content is almost always a blog on a website about the company, or it's an email, maybe a bit of an email shot or a newsletter, and they say we're writing content, not we're producing content, but that basically just means something that's in a written format.
Yeah.
And we know statistically people don't always, they might read stuff, but they also watch and listen to stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with content is that because this is my perception, because marketing leaders are not or haven't produced enough information and enough analysis to demonstrate to a managing director this is what we've got to be doing, they've failed, and therefore they've got kicked out. They've lost their job. I mean, I'm not saying it. It's the press that's saying it. And I kind of see this, that they employ a new CMO. CMO comes in, he's given 3 months to get his act together, come up with a new plan, start executing the plan. They give him 12 months to make it happen. By the end of 12 months, he's failed, and he's got 3 months to get out and go and get a new one. But the trouble is the reality is people consume video more than they do the written word. People like the written word, still read, and people like to listen to stuff, as in podcasts, which is exactly why we would not be doing podcasts if people didn't listen to them. It's as simple as that. So you've got three forms of communication, and to tell a director, well, we need some people doing video, we need some people doing podcasts, it's like, it's too much effort. It's the first thing that comes in. No, too expensive, too much effort, haven't got the resources, haven't got the money, haven't got the people, haven't whatever. It's like, okay, well, I suppose, not a slap in the face, but if you were to have your time over again and start your business again, how would you do it? And it would be, when you produce all the content in advance, get everything done in advance, produce videos, how-to videos, explainer videos, podcasts and information, talking to prospective customers or existing people that you sell to, all of this stuff, write loads of content and information and prepare all of this before you actually started the business. So you got all your content done in advance before you even got any investment or money, and then basically proved your company in the first place that it was viable. And so here you go, you start up your business with all your ducks in a row. And that's what never happens.
And that you actually have a message to deliver. Yeah.
But people don't, but to say that, well, actually, the reason you haven't got any of this information to hand right now is because you started your business incorrectly. And looking at it with hindsight, 2020 hindsight, is a wonderful thing. But that's true. We all started our businesses incorrectly to satisfy the consumption of content as it is now. Because if you think a 4-paragraph blog is going to suffice when Google say you've got to be writing 3,000 to 6,000 words for an article to be relevant and interesting and informative and comprehensive, and if it is, we'll chuck you at the top of the search engine. If you're not doing that, then your blogs are a waste of time. Because if you want to use blogs as a method to attract business because of search engine optimization, you ain't going to do it.
I sometimes wonder though as well whether, that blog drop down on the website is, well, we've got a blog because we have to have a blog because everybody else has got a blog.
Yep.
And so the blogs just become either we did an event, we did a fundraiser for a local charity, or we awarded this, this prize employee of the year or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But that wouldn't inspire anybody. It wouldn't inspire a suspect to say, oh yeah, I'll do business with this company, because it tells them nothing.
No, I mean, pictures of the Christmas jumpers and stuff like that doesn't constitute content.
No.
That's news for a newsletter.
And that's different. You've got blogs and you've got news. I mean, blogs are having something interesting to say, and providing interesting information. If you look at
it's guide, like a guide, for example, how to set up. I mean, we've got them on ours. How do you do this? And the format that Google say people are to use, invariably it has an index, a clickable index at the beginning. It's got an intro. It runs through the different stages of learning how to do something. It's got video in it. It's got diagrams and graphs in it. It can be read by a 12-year-old and understood by a 12-year-old. And in order to explain a given subject properly, it takes a couple of 3,000-4,000 words, because that's how it is. And there's a thing called schema, which is a structure of how you identify types of content. And if you're using schema, based upon the indexes that you use within your blogs, Google will recognise it, not every time, but many times, and take those bullet points and put them in position 0 as a rich snippet on the search engine. So it's like, so we're talking about all this enormous issue to do with content, and we look at where we are now and say, right, well, the businesses that are going to survive are the ones that have got the richest content, the ones that have got blogs and podcasts and videos and explainers and lots of downloadable content and all this kind of stuff. And businesses have to sit back and go, Well, actually, we've got very little.
Because they've depended on those salespeople to go
Yeah.
out and do that work. And of course, we're in a situation now, and we don't know how long this is going to last. But it's probably going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be a terminal situation, but I think it
will be for some people.
But it will. But yeah, for sure. But I think from a business's perspective, you've got to be out there. You have to produce this content because your suspects, the people that you do want to sell to, but you now can't reach, even your prospects, you can't reach them in the same way. And that's not to say that they've stopped looking for information. You have to be able to produce this content or have this content available so that they can start reading and preparing themselves to actually buy from you. I mean, statistically, there's a statistic I was reading, I can't remember who the author is, it might be Jay Baer, and he said 60% of the conversation, if you like, or the buyer's journey happens before you even know that you're in that conversation. So that content that you've produced, whether it's a blog or a video or a podcast, that suspect and the prospects, they're looking at that content, they're doing their research, because that's how we all buy now, but they're doing their research. And for me, I think that's how businesses will survive this. It's like, you've got to get on this content drive right now, because there's going to be a lag, because we've had if you think about it, you've got to be persistent. When I was selling, the worst thing of all was to lose the momentum with doing the telesales. So you do telesales for a couple of weeks, you get some appointments, and you go out and you do the appointment, and the way the business was set up, I also ended up doing the training. So I would be out of the business then, out of the sales part of it, doing other stuff. And then you lose your momentum, and then you find that some of the people that you were talking to 6 to 8 weeks ago have either already made a decision, or they've moved on, or they've
it's a dual thing, isn't it? You've got to have that relationship going, and because of the way that I suppose we were all shown this is how you sell, didn't really encourage a relationship. It was go out, sell it as quickly as possible for as much as possible, get on to the next one.
But you built that relationship. First of all, you tried to build that relationship over the phone, and sometimes you did, and sometimes you just didn't. They might remember you, they might not remember you. But what I mean about this lag is that now we've lost that momentum, because the salespeople that were going out are no longer going out. They're no longer having those conversations, because they can't, or if they can, they're very limited conversations.
But those conversations, we're talking to Dean, and Dean was saying that you can't force the conversation in the first place.
No.
And the expectation of marketing is that you produce content, hide it behind a curtain, force them to give you an email address if they want to take a look at that information. And once they've got that information, as in they've got the email address of the person, you do your investigative work, find out the company they are, who they are, where they are, how many, and then you phone up and say, "What? You downloaded my bit of information. I want to come and see you." And they look at you and go, "But I don't want to see you. I was just curious.
Yeah,
I don't want to. What are you talking about?"
I read a white paper a couple of days ago about content, and especially in the tech industry, and there was a complaint that, we produce these white papers, we produce this information, but then when we get their email address and we ring them up or we contact them and say, "It was just something I was curious about, it was a bit of news," and then they get all upset because that person isn't in the business to buy that product or whatever there and then. But this is about building a relationship, because just because they're not, even the processes of buying, somebody buying some tech might spend 2 years looking at and researching an expensive piece of equipment, because it takes them that long, because one thing and another, that it takes them that long to actually research it. But they're looking at content on the internet, they're watching videos, they're listening to podcasts, before they get to a point where they go, "Well, actually now I want to move this research process on a step to talking to somebody, or making contact with somebody, or being willing to speak to somebody on the phone. That might be a 2-year process.
Yeah.
But it's 2 years that you don't know that person's reading your content.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that
and not every buyer is the same either, because you've got, they might be looking at an expensive piece of kit, but equally they might be looking at something that's fairly cheap and fairly easy for them, that they've got the buying power to do that. They've got the authority to do that. It might be that they're buying smaller pieces of kit and they're doing that really quickly, but they're still doing this research in the background, but they don't want to talk to you about that because they're not ready to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's this whole thing of demanding the email address and forcing the issue. And to say it's old, it is old hat, because how we buy stuff. If we want something, we'll go and buy it. But then that's the same for everybody the world over. If they want something, they go and buy it.
Yeah.
They can't be browbeaten into buying it because the salesman has got a target to do.
Or he's got your email address and telephone number.
And so it blows me away that it's still pursued this way. But unfortunately, I think the reason behind it, it's perceived as this is how we've always done it. Point 1. Point 2, it's cheap. It doesn't actually require a great deal of management or thought, because you can just chuck them out there, send the salespeople out there. Do as you're told, get on the phone.
Yeah.
Sellotape their hand to the phone, get them to cold call, so they don't leave their desk. That's the mentality and attitude that is out there. Yet on the other side, the people that who are the buyers, we're quite happy to consider our purchase and go and buy a £1,000 phone, or expensive technology, because that's what we all use these days. But we made that decision. We bought it when we were ready.
Yeah.
That's a personal choice. That's a personal purchase. We buy it when we're ready. When it comes to the business it's a business decision which is based upon ROI. And if I know the return on investment I'm going to make, I'll make a move. But the person's got to prove it to me. But I'm not going to go and I'm not going to be forced into appointments unless I know what's in it for me. And so the problem that we've got now is that the information that's being sent out by people is not comprehensive enough. And the supplying companies don't want it to be comprehensive enough, because they want to demand or get a way of, it's too complicated to talk to you about it over the phone. I'll have to come down and show it to you face to face. It's like,
I've had those conversations.
Mate, the amount of kit that we use on a daily basis, and you think I'm too stupid to know how to use it? Come on. And this is where there's this friction, because if you've got salespeople that maybe you've got too many salespeople, maybe, and to address the balance or redress the balance, you may need to have more people producing content and less people out there selling. But the people that the salespeople go and meet, they close more often. So I said this before, whether it was a blog or a video, I'd much rather have less salespeople working for me, working flat out, selling all day. I'd helicopter them to their appointments if they were closing all day long. But the content that gets written gets used for years.
Yeah, I think though, or rather, don't you think that there's a bit of a fear factor? Because I think if you're producing content, it's very personal to your business because you've produced it and it's got your name on it and it's your opinion. That companies are going, we can't give this away because we've produced it. It's very special to us. It's very personal to us. We need something. It becomes transactional, and I think that's where we get the problem, because it's
I agree.
Because when it's transactional, it means you have to give me something in order for me to give you this information.
Yeah.
But actually, the email address or the phone number that you give them means that they are going to hassle you. You are going to be hassled. And I think, so there's a fear factor. It's like they're worried that they might lose a lead there, that you've got somebody that's ready to buy because they're downloading a white paper. But I would imagine that if you actually did a proper analysis of the number of people that downloaded, say, a white paper from your website, how many of those were actually in the business of buying right then and there, and that if they didn't give you their email address, they'd go off and buy from somebody else. I think statistically it's probably a very, very tiny fraction, and it's content is a way of building up that trust, that you have that trust because you're giving him, not just because you're giving it away, but because you're giving something of value.
I read ages ago that businesses have to become purveyors of fine content, and for the content to be freely available, and each piece of content has got your name on it, your company name, your website, telephone number, address, everything. Mm-hmm. So if they read it, they'll contact you.
Yeah.
Instead of people want to like. I want your email address so I can phone you and phone you and phone you. So this thing about creating this content, and you want businesses to be able to communicate. Are we like you? And if we are like you, and if you are like us, we'll probably get on really well. So if we are like each other, we may even like each other too, and become friends and support and yada yada yada. But the only way you can establish those parameters is by saying we're open, we're here, we're transparent. Here's everything. Mm-hmm. You can knock yourself out, read everything. There's no gatekeeping stuff going on here. You can read everything, have everything, read it at your own leisure. Give us a call if you need any help. And we've seen with the information that we've got on our site, and we've got videos, and we've seen a massive increase in the engagement time because people stay on the site, because they're not being forced. If you want anything, we want your inside leg measurement. We're just saying, look, if you want it, take it. If you want to read it, read it. We know where they come from. We know which social channels they've come from. We know if they've come from an email. We know exactly. Google Analytics tells us everything. What do you want to know? And if we really wanted to know, we could find out the name of the person who clicked on it because we've got their email address or whatever. But what? There's no point, because we only want to talk to people who want to talk to us. Mm-hmm. And people contact us and say, look, we've seen what you do. Come and have a chat. Can we have a chat and see where we can take it? Yeah, absolutely. No stress. But employing a load of salespeople to go out and try and force people to go and buy something from you today, because we've done it. For 30 years, we've gone out and cold called and door knocked and employed people to go and cold call and door knock and sell kit and do. So we've done it. It's not like we're talking from a
without having had the experience.
Without having had the experience. We've done it. We've been there, done it. And so we've experienced it, and they were the part of the heyday of selling direct and so on. And we were selling millions of pounds worth of gear. But this is different. It's changed. The market's changed. People have changed. If we'd said, however many years ago, most people would have £1,000 phone in their pocket. No, really. And if we'd said, and in March, April, we're going to be, every single business around the world is going to be shut down for 4, 5, 6 weeks, you would have gone, you've been on the sauce, or you've been smoking something. Mm-hmm. And, it'd be Elon Musk sitting here with a joint. But at the end of the day, we can't second guess what's going to happen.
No, you can't anticipate these things. I think what you can anticipate is that people will be consuming content for really, as long as the internet is is available to us, because content is where it's at. And the question we were asking was whether how will businesses survive in 2020? Not just how will businesses survive this COVID-19, but in 2020 and beyond. And I think it's got to be by producing good quality, valuable content that people want to read.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
because that's where we're at. We have to be in that mind. We have to be in that mindset that if we're ever in this situation again, and even if we're not in this exact same situation,
saying that they've already said it'll come back in October.
But the thing is, if we're in this situation again, we have to make sure as businesses that we can continue putting our information out there, and we're not dependent on going to see people face to face or having telephone conversations, because telephone conversations now are not really happening because everybody's working from home. And even if you've got a setup where you can transfer calls to each other remotely through Teams or whatever, or through your hosted solution, would you want to?
So I mean, it could be that they're I don't know, it's the wrong time to call them. The kids are being bathed, or it's their lunchtime, or I don't know, anything like that. So it at the moment it's not conducive to being able to transfer calls.
No.
And so the absolute necessity is to be able to provide, I suppose, just on demand, as much information and content as you want or as you need to, because it's right. Yes, sticking up. But it's. I'm certain that people listen to this and go, "You're just trying to push content." No, because you could be in another country and we don't work in that country. So no, it just means that you've got to do content. You haven't got any choice. And if anybody thinks, it's just a way of trying to generate a bit more business, no, because it's the people that have the content are the organisations that enable other companies to dip in and look at them whenever it suits them. Mm-hmm. That's it. Because they will not. They don't want to contact you the same way. So speaking to somebody listening now, so I call you up and say to your receptionist, I want to talk to managing director, and she says he's busy, and I say I don't care. I want to speak to him. And if you heard the conversation and say no, you're too meany, or you're too low down the chain, I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak to the managing director. And if the managing director heard you, as you are the listener, you heard this salesman giving stick to your secretary or receptionist or somebody who supports your business development or business support person or whoever, you'd tell her to hang up. So if people can't contact you on the phone, they certainly want to be able to contact you or look at you in any other way, shape or form. Mm-hmm. So you won't allow some oik to ring you up. So how do you expect your salespeople to succeed if the other managing director is of the same mind? Mm. So I think where we are now. We've got this lockdown. It has to be viewed, I think, as an essential part of our working activity is to review what we've got. And this goes for everyone. So we've got this checklist we've got on our website, on our blog, and it's pretty straightforward. These are the things you've got to do. And in a nutshell, it's look at your data, segment it, and separate it into personas. You might work with 3 particular vertical markets, and within each of those vertical markets, you might have 3 or maybe 4 types of people that you speak to. You have to write for all of them. You have to communicate for all of them. Once you've done that, once you've segmented them and put them into personas, you then have to decide what type of information would be best suited to them. Mm. So you might have to do video and do a podcast and do some kind of article. But it's one of those things. Now we haven't got a choice. we wanted to think before. Well, I choose to write, and that's it. And if you want to know about me, you have to learn how to read, and therefore, no, it doesn't work that way anymore.
No.
If the only thing you've got is written content, written information, forget it. I'll go somewhere else, because I can find out about your type of product, because your type of product is not unique.
No.
Nobody's product is unique unless you've got an iPhone 11. I mean, there's nobody else out there selling iPhone 11s except Apple. It's their product, and so on. And so once you've established that you've got you've cleaned up your data. Once you've cleaned up your data, you've identified the content that you need to produce for those people. And once that's been produced and is being produced, you've got to come up with the adverts that will promote it to those people. Mm. I mean, we did our 334 and published it. Had 90 pieces of content going out, and it showed lots of people that we had loads of content. It's great. But the only problem was that it wasn't. Some of the articles, some of the information was too long to kind of expect or force buy-in to us, because people have got a very short attention span, especially on social media. Oh, big time. So now we're producing short 10, 15, 20 second, 30 second adverts to entice people to say, well, this is what it's about, have a look. This is what it's about, have a look. And that the same applies to our blogs and our podcasts and our videos, doing short adverts. And that's what we're all used to. We always see short adverts on television telling us to go and look at the real thing, or go and watch the full film or whatever. So it's about getting this process moving and changing, and putting this emphasis on content, because, and this is the absolute kicker, the more information and content that you have, the more independent you are as a business. If you have sufficient information that enables your prospects and your customers to find out and engage with you and talk to you and so on. I know salespeople don't like hearing things like this, but I won't tell them. It means you're going to have less salespeople. And the people that you do keep on, you keep them busier, because they're out there dealing with it with prospects that are interested and want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. So you have to let them go. Not completely, not necessarily, because certain salespeople could be great in front of the camera, great researchers, great interviewers, gregarious, outgoing individuals. Get them doing this type of work. I mean, the list of content that can be produced is immeasurable almost. There's loads of it, but once you get the juices going and people start thinking about what can be done,
you just have to get creative, don't you?
Yeah. And I think I genuinely feel very sorry for companies out there that have been damaged because of this. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but I really feel for them. But there has to be a way out, and there has to be a long-term way out, not just a quick fix and a few quid from the government. It's how do you make your business sustainable in the long term, in the long run, and how do you do it? And that's what we've produced. That's what we've got on our website, and that's the whole point of this. That we've produced information and a different approach to marketing, top to bottom, like start to finish, because there's no point doing what you've always done and getting the same results. It's nonsense, and that kind of harks back to the people do marketing like it's the 1950s. Is that it doesn't work. People don't want it to work. We don't like it working, but it's just an easy way of managing people and tell them to do as they're told. So, but I think, in terms of this one, I'm just looking at the camera at the moment and turning my head around. Although we've been feels like Alas Smith and Jones, just looking across the table. but where are we now? We're Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday. So by this weekend, we will have tested our live broadcast. on YouTube. So I'm going to kick it off on YouTube, and then we'll do the testing, and then next week we'll start a regular live feed on YouTube, on Facebook, and we'll record it when it goes out on Facebook, and then we'll copy and paste that and upload that to YouTube and LinkedIn. We've got to get. I'm still waiting to hear back from LinkedIn with our access on that one, but we'll see what happens to that. But that leaves me to basically call it a day, I think. And we've got some birds in the background. I don't know what that is, but we'll turn that one off, shall we? Anyway, I don't think
Modern technology. Eh?
Yeah, they didn't. I don't think so. I mean, I can't change it anyway.
No.
I'll do that in the edit.
Yeah.
So that's bye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Bye for now.